Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here with my friend, Justin Parsons. He is the partner at Erickson Immigration Group. Justin, how are you doing today?
Not so bad. Not so bad. How about you?
I'm doing really great. I'm talking to you. It's 4:00 somewhere, and I got a nice dinner plan this evening. Yeah. So life is pretty grand right now. Actually, where in the world are you, Justin?
So we're in Arlington. I'm probably so our office is in a portion of Arlington where we kind of sit on a hill and we overlook the Capitol. So we have like an amazing view. I'm sitting in an office and I can see Roslyn, which is like the closest to like Georgetown, and then I can see the Capitol building. So yeah, we have an amazing office, amazing view here.
I was there about a month ago, and it is a gorgeous office, great people. Yeah, it's awesome. And I want to know where in the world everybody is that's watching right now. So if you're watching us right now, hit that like button. Do me a solid, throw a little heart out there to Arlington, to Justin. Let's get the party started here on Love and Reload. Let me know who you are, where you are. Give your company a shout out, and we will be checking in. We got Canada in the house. Ray Abbott from Tippett Richardson in BC. Oliver Wong. Hey, Justin. Was that a good Oliver impression?
Yeah, he's a little more enthusiastic, I would say.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
Did I nail it? There we go. All right, awesome. We're going to be talking about immigration stuff. We're going to have a little fun, play some games at the end here. So also, if you got immigration questions or if you want to know what's going on, throw that in the comments and the questions as well. We're going to talk about state of U.S. immigration, business travel, what's going on with technology and immigration. I'm hearing a lot of stuff about that. I want to know, is that fact or fiction? Is it all sizzle and no steak, or is there some real meat there? I want to know. The love's coming in from Oliver. What's up? Comac, New York in the house. Melissa Sudano, that's what's up. Hit that like button. Jana Shazanaski from Brazil is in the house. So we got 3 countries represented right now.
Ben, where is Comac, New York? Do you know?
Comac's Long Island.
Okay.
Long Island, actually with a double G. Long Island, right, Melissa? Am I wrong? Is it Suffolk or Nassau, Melissa? I'm going. I knew a gal from Comac back in college. I'm going Nassau. No offense. I don't know. Tell me where it's at, Melissa. Let me know out there. You spent some time in New York, right, Justin?
Yeah, I Brooklyn and Queens. So and my family lives on Long Island. So, but I don't know the Nassau and the Suffolk. It's I know I drive and I hit traffic for like an hour and a half once I think I'm there, and it's like the worst traffic in the U.S. I think.
Oh yeah, the LIE is ridiculous. Melissa says yes, it is in Long Island, and no, it is not in Nassau. It's in Suffolk. Rowdy Suffolk County in the house here. Diane, go. Justin, go. This is good. It's like a Pinewood Derby. All right, this is fantastic here. So we're talking about U.S. immigration. We've got you guys do U.S. You guys also do global immigration. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we do in over 100 countries. I mean, we've got folks in Mexico City, Poland, Spain, Ireland, the UK, Singapore, Australia.
That's a lot of folks. How big is Erickson?
We're close to about 250 individuals right now, and I was in.
Seems
London.
Pretty big.
Yeah, I was in London last month, and I was able to see one of our employees there. But yeah, I gotta get around to all the other places to visit folks. I need to see some people in person. So.
All right, and we're going to get into immigration. I promise. I swear to you all. But one of our favorite topics on here is Premier League football.
Yeah.
Even though I know absolutely nothing about it, the Europeans, especially the Brits, love giving me crap about it. And Dano, what's up, Dano in Vegas? Dano, love you, man. Hope you're doing well out there. Shouting out the shirt. Appreciate you, man. Dano's a haberdashery expert, so it means a lot coming from you, Dano. But yeah, so I had no affinity for any football club going out there, and I watched the Liverpool Chelsea match.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm a Liverpool fan ish. Is that all right? I don't know. Like, I mean, they won in penalty kicks. They're going to the UEFA champion. Yeah.
On Saturday. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think they're owned by the owner of the Red Sox. I think LeBron has a slice of ownership in Liverpool. I mean, I don't know.
Who's your team? Who do you support?
I'm kind of agnostic. My son is a big Arsenal fan. I saw a United game last month, United versus Chelsea, and that was pretty interesting. So the crowds are a bit rowdy. I walked into a pub before the game, and it was like all Chelsea supporters, and they're all guys in their like, early 20s, and they're all just like 3 or 4 beers in, and me and a buddy just like, we walked right out because we were like, we're not gonna
get into this hooliganism right now.
Too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a little more intense about their football than we are. And it's weird because you can't drink inside the stadium.
I didn't know that. I just assumed you could. It's like college football here in the States, huh? You can't drink.
No. So I think what people do is they pound their beers like they get their beers in, the area before you go into the stands. They pound their beers and then they go watch football. But yeah, it's a pretty rowdy group.
Yeah, I didn't get in the stadium. Hopefully next time I get there, I'll get in the stadium. I was actually checking. Going to Euro next week over in Seville, and I actually noticed that there might be a game in Sevilla on Saturday. So I might have to check that out. Yeah, I might have to. It's gonna be hot though. Ooh, it's gonna be so hot. Anyway, all right, let's hop into immigration. Not much has changed in the last 2 years, huh?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I think the last time that I came on your show, I think it was the day of it wasn't the travel ban, but it was the ban against non-immigrant visas and visa ban by the Trump administration. And I just remember being on the show and there's just like everyone was panicking and freaking out. And yeah, I would say a lot has changed over the past 2 years. I think things could have gone very badly. Well, it could have gone in a different direction if the election was a little bit different. I think we were really on the verge of having a lot more restrictions on immigration. But yeah, I would say it's been a lot different over the past 2 years since we kind of last chatted about immigration. I think the USCIS has gotten
what's changed. What are some of the highlights that you've noticed that have changed?
Well, I mean, I think the big thing was, the Trump administration went pretty hard against like H-1B holders, which is, the bread and butter H-1B, the bread and butter work visa in the U.S. So there was a lot of denials. There was a lot of litigation. There was a lot of everything became a struggle just to like extend a visa or get a new visa. Those have relaxed a little bit under the current administration, and I think USCIS has taken less of I would say it's a more inviting tone towards immigrants than the last head of the agency did, where I think they saw themselves as more of an enforcement agency versus now. I think they realize that they're in customer service, and it's there that immigrants are actually good for the U.S. for business, for culture and for many reasons. So I think the tone has changed. I think the folks who are in USCIS now, I think they're headed in the right direction. It's just the kind of the analogy that I always give is that, well, I didn't come up with this analogy, somebody else did, but it's this, it's this freight, this large ship, and to turn it around just took a lot of time. We're in year 2, and I think people were expecting things to happen a lot faster than they're actually happening. But I think we're headed in the right direction in terms of policy that's good for business. And at the end of the day, like as a country, we want companies to be here. We want the best and the brightest to be here. We want individuals to start companies here because it's good for the country.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And was it the tone, or have there also been policy changes? Because I mean, it sounded like at the time when we were talking about this a couple of years ago, what I was hearing, and I'm not an immigration expert, so correct me where I'm wrong, was that the rules were very similar or the same in many cases, but there was the tone in which it was being delivered and the perception globally also around, this is not, it's not going to be immigration friendly. There was a lot of scuttlebutt in online forums. People were talking about employees, would talk to each other and gossip in these forums and say, gosh, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? There's a lot of worry and a lot of ire out there. And I guess my question is like, have there been policy changes that have made it easier to come over here and work?
Nothing from like a legislative standpoint. I mean, nothing is passed laws in terms of Congress, but I think how the agencies are applying the laws and how they're training their officers, I think that they just kind of gave a nod to from an agency perspective to go a little lighter on how they're adjudicating some of these H-1Bs and deciding these cases. So, it all starts from the top in terms of like the tone that USCIS is going to set. And I think, like I said, I think from a philosophy standpoint, they've decided that, they want companies to be here. They want smart people to be here. And they don't want to, turn folks away.
But it still seems like there's a backlog though that we're seeing with USCIS, right? Where there's a lot of cases that seem to still be kind of backlogged. I mean, what are you seeing that backlog and what's?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the issue is that, what at the end of the last administration, what they really stopped doing is like they stopped processing cases. They just slowed everything down, and that was a strategy. I also think that COVID didn't help in terms of like USCIS being, it's still a paper agency. A few years ago, the founder and one of the partners here went to the California Service Center, and just like the stories that they told coming back in terms of like how this government agency processes, applications. It's still paper files. And if an officer has to request a file, they have to like write, a little ticket, and then they like submit it. And then it comes in like a conveyor belt. And it's all very like from the 1970s.
Are they using like those inter-office mail envelopes, those big manila ones with the little, you write it, and then you got the little red thread that you do the little figure 8 on, and you send it, and like Sally runs it down the hall, and Johnny gets it, and he sees it.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not too far off. I don't want to disparage, the agency, because I don't think that's fair. But at the end of the day, like government agencies aren't known for their innovation. There's not the need as there is in the private sector. So I just think, they spent years and years trying to, modernize the system in terms of online forums and stuff like that. And, it's just been a little slower than I think what stakeholders wanted over the years. So I think we're headed in the right direction. I don't think there's going to be any legislation that's passed that's going to be beneficial. I mean, we're still looking at 85,000 H-1Bs. And I think the number of folks that applied, I think it was like 480 or 500,000. So we're still looking at like a very small percentage of H-1Bs that are issued each year in comparison to the folks who are applying.
How is that 480 to 500 compare like historically?
I think this year it was up. I think this is the most they've ever had this fiscal year. So it's
and that cap hasn't changed for many years, right?
No, not since 20 years. So
even though U.S. population has grown, even though business needs have grown, even though the economy's changed over 20 years, even though the shortage of STEM workers has increased, that cap has remained fixed.
Yeah, and I think that there's been like a debate in terms of like Congress and society, we can't agree on whether there's a shortage of STEM workers or whether there's U.S. workers available to do these jobs. Like there's, while there's a lot of data showing that there's not a lot of U.S. citizens that are interested in doing these jobs, there's counter folks who have data that they argue that this isn't the case. And so you present that data to different administrations and they interpret it differently. So
no, it's interesting, and we might have some people watching right now that have an opinion on this. So if you've got an opinion on this, please throw it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. I know we have some folks in here who run global mobility programs who are in immigration. If you've got an opinion, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to just toast toast and party. I mean, that's cool too. Ben Sukia, thanks for joining. I can't wait to see you in Spain next week. I don't know. Is this Portuguese? I can't even. Sorry, I don't got it, Ben.
Ben's a nice
Can you translate
guy.
that for me? Ben's a good guy. Ben's a good guy for sure. Saw him last week out there in London as well. Good seeing you, buddy. See you next week. You mentioned technology though, and you mentioned that innovation at the agency level. Not to disparage our friends over there at USCIS, but you mentioned that it's not always quick to come on the agency side. And we talked a little bit. We teased a little bit that we're going to talk a little bit about immigration tech. And it seems, well, gosh, tech is such a hot topic, everywhere. And what does it even mean? And what is tech? And what is innovation? And what does it look like? But talk to me a little bit about the way technology is being utilized in immigration now, and maybe some of the new things that are coming up.
Yeah. So, I've been practicing 17 years, and I'm kind of on the older spectrum in my office. And it's funny, I was on a call with a prospective client the other day, and she actually asked me, she goes, "How many years have you been practicing?" Because I was like 17 years. And she's like, "Are you sure?" And
was that kind of like you look kind of young? Like
it was kind of like what comments? You're telling me, like, I need to like gut check you to make sure you have been practicing for a few years. But I took that as a compliment. I don't hear that often working with a bunch of, millennials and Gen Z. So, but when I started practicing, it was, I was still filing, paper labor certifications, and the systems were all very like rudimentary. And I was still faxing and doing things like that when I first started practicing. And I think, I kind of think about the cycle of technology in terms of in our field. And I think about it a couple ways. One is that our CTO used to work at a big law firm in Pittsburgh, and it's all billable hours, right? And that's how traditionally law firms have worked. And, he told us a story about he went to this partner and said, "Well, I can create the system and it'll cut the time in half." And the guy was like, "I don't want to do that because then it's going to hurt my billable hours." So I think from a law firm perspective, they've always been not about efficiency, because you want to drag things out. And immigration, I think, the field has changed a lot over the past 15 years, just in terms of, to be frank, like most of the firms that do billable hours, they're just not going to survive. The industry has really shifted to, flat fee components, and, doing things in the most efficient way to where you can leverage like automation. And not only is automation good from a perspective of you can do things faster, but also just from like quality control and eliminating human error.
That's really fascinating, though. You talk about the shift from billable hours to like kind of pay by the piece or pay by the work, and how that now drives your desire to do it faster. Right? You're incentivized to do it faster versus do it slower. It's literally a diametric opposite.
Yeah, and I think that I think there's been a lot of growth and a lot of attention to technology in the immigration space over the past like 5 or 6 years. There's been a lot, there's the, our colleague who does a LinkedIn show about immigration technology. And, there's just been a lot of folks trying to innovate in this space. So it's a very interesting time, not only for just, I think the industry in general, but also like, we've done a lot of interesting stuff in terms of at our firm just to try to get better in terms of technology. And it's just a very interesting time in terms of the overall, practice immigration and technology. So
can you share, are you able at liberty to share some of the things that maybe you guys have been working on to maybe get a little more innovative and things like that?
Yeah. We've, over the past couple of years, we've invested a lot in, automated processes and machine learning, and a lot of things on the back end to help us with like, whether it's like processing mail and receipts and stuff is entered instead of manually. There's automated processes for all this stuff. So it's taking out, in our case, it's really less about like the time and the manpower, but just to like try to eliminate as many errors as possible with like keying in data and stuff. And with immigration, there's so much data that's involved. So it's not about, it's about ensuring the integrity of the data, protecting the data. And then we have, what we found over the I'd say the past 10 years was that we didn't really have a product that was on the marketplace that I thought matched kind of the business processes that we use as a firm. So we've spent, and I don't want to plug, but
Go for it.
Yeah, we spent the past couple of years working with Salesforce in terms of plugging, in terms of building our platform on Salesforce, and it's just been, I'd say, an amazing kind of process for us because it's a great platform. And not only is it good in terms of how malleable it is to our business processes and just how much time it can save us, but it's also just like it's a great platform to integrate with other things as well. It integrates with everything. So we've had a lot of, I think, success with working with the Salesforce platform, and it's been pretty great for us.
Yeah, I met a person recently who is working on robotics in this area, and I'm like, well, robotics, I mean, what is that? I think like robots, like manufacturing or something like that. And he's using bots to fill out forms and do repetitive tasks. Yeah. And there's a lot of paperwork in immigration, right? And so you go into, say, an RMC, let's say a global mobility user, an assignee or transferee goes into an RMC, gives all of their information, or hopefully maybe even their HRIS system talks to the RMC, gives all that information into the RMC's database, and then that RMC now has to manage that same data and give it to a dozen other providers along the way, one of which being Erickson Immigration Group, right? And when you receive that information, then you have to take that and then put it into multiple different forms, at different periods in time. And what he was showing me was, robots to fill out these forms. Is that something that you see as being a good application? I mean, is that the future?
So I think there's a large automation component. I mean, for example, we use bots to not only do things like mail processing and entering in data, but also like little stuff like opening cases. And we've been paperless for probably about, 6 or 7 years, to where we don't have any physical files in the office. But, it used to take, just from an overall like manpower process, it used to take like a lot of different people to open cases internally and assign them and whatnot. And now that's all done by bots and internally. But I mean, there's still components of, there's always somebody who's trying to sell us on, well, I'm inventing this program that's going to write O1s, and O1s then are like the Einstein visas, and they require, these support letters, which could be like 15 pages, right? And there's always somebody coming to us saying, well, I have this program that can write these O1s. And in reality, I think that there's going to be programs and things that we can automate in our processes. But at the end of the day, we're just not there yet from a technology.
So is the challenge with like the O1 that requires so much, it's more of an art than a science, where you're like really painting a picture about this person's talents and how special and unique they are, versus using AI to say, is a leader in global mobility, like just cut and dry pat answers. I mean, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, it's, we have a really great O1 team, and it's really an art. It's like, it's sitting there in a room and like handcrafting something out of wood, and you get this beautiful product at the end of the day, which is this petition, which gets a green card for somebody. And it's not so easy just to automate that away. So there's going to be certain things that I think in the future, as technology improves, you're going to be able to automate away, but there's just going to be certain things in the field you just can't. And I can be totally wrong, because, the pace in which technology has moved, you watch these documentaries and they're like, this is how this is what technology was for 50 years. And then look how far we've come. over the past 5 years. Maybe I'm wrong, but as of right now, I would say anyone who's trying to come, we get pitched all the time with guys who come in, or gals who say I've invented this thing and it can write an O or it can do this, and once you start kind of playing around with it and testing it, it's just not there. So
yeah, maybe it can write an O, but can it get it approved? Can it? Yeah. There's a big qualitative difference, is what I've noticed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take technology. Let's pivot real quick here. Let's pivot from technology into a technology company. Facebook, Meta. Can you explain last year's case with Facebook and how and the impact of that?
Yeah. So, we are talking about kind of what's happened over the past 2 years. And in my opinion, what I've seen is that USCIS is the agency that processes, the visas and the I-45 applications, the green cards. But the DOL is involved. If a company wants to sponsor somebody in the U.S. for a green card, you have to go through the labor market testing process. So you have to show that there's not a qualified, U.S. worker out there. We've seen a shift with the DOL, and there's many theories about why this has happened. But for whatever reason it is, the DOL has started going after major companies. Labor certifications are becoming, perhaps more difficult to get approved. There's more scrutiny. What happened last year was there's been a settlement with Facebook where the DOL alleged that Facebook was not properly, trying to recruit and advertise in good faith for these perm applications. So it's really kind of shaken up the industry in terms of, a blueprint for how companies should advertise and go through the labor certification process.
Was the advertising, did you see this, or have you observed this over your 17 years, becoming a little lax and kind of deteriorating in the quality and the diligence there?
I just think that lawyers are you get paid to think creatively, and I think that in my opinion, I think the DOL kind of changed the goalposts. They moved the goalposts a little bit, and I think it was a bit unfair in terms of what ultimately, I think legally, I think Facebook had some legs to stand on there because they were doing everything by the book and by the regulations. But I think at the end of the day, the DOL wanted to make an example out of them, because they're Facebook, because, at this point, tech may have a bit of a target on their back, but it's definitely changed. And I think overall, we shifted from USCIS being a little more difficult to now the DOL being a little more difficult. And I think practitioners generally thought, maybe we cleared a hurdle with, the Trump administration leaving, and now we're dealing with kind of a different set of circumstances with the DOL. It's tough because at the end of the day, what it's doing is it's still accomplishing the same thing the Trump administration which is if you want to sponsor a person for a green card and it's difficult, it's going to deter talent. It's going to deter companies. People are going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to Canada. They're going to go to other places to set up offices that are more friendly. So
businesses want to have a level of certainty that if they go through this process, there's a predictable chance that they will be successful. And if they're unclear on what that chance of success is, it's going to discourage investment, to your point, right? Mm-hmm. And so when the way things are evaluated, changes, it sends shockwaves through markets, and immigration is just like any market, right? I want to hear how companies can act going forward and what your advice is. But real quick, I got Vinny Valverde checking in. What's up, Vinny? Yeah. Hey everyone, good to see you guys. Justin is the man. Oliver Wong, no lies there. No lies. What's up, Vinny? Good to see you, Vinny UPS out there. So what is your advice to companies going forward to remain compliant and be successful?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like we've had to change our kind of strategy and our advice, and I think 90% of the immigration attorneys have had to change it as well. I think it's to be as conservative. You have to be conservative in this environment. Similarly, how you had to be conservative in the Trump administration. So, I think every company should read the Facebook settlement decision. They should look at all the resources. There have been like ALA panels. There's been um, the DOJ and the DOL have spoken about this publicly. They haven't said too much, but they've said enough to read the cues. And I think all the companies out there should need to read the tea leaves a little bit. And I think organizations like ALA have done a really good job at advising like the private bar and companies to kind of do that. But and I'm not saying anything that's new, but the struggles haven't gone away with immigration with the Biden administration, I would say.
If you can out there, hit that like button if you're watching right now. And also, if you're out there and you know about this Facebook case, if you can put a link to it in the LinkedIn comments there, I would appreciate it. I want to link there in case anybody else is curious what goes on and isn't good at Googling things. Shout out to my wife. I love you. I want to pivot from that and talk about business travel.
Yeah.
Because business travel is a very hot topic in global mobility right now. More and more business travel concerns, compliance is landing on global mobility managers' desks.
Yep.
From an immigration perspective, is there anything we can do to make things run a little smoother from a business travel standpoint? What tips do you have for us? What trends are there out there, and how can we operate in this environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I would say is like, as COVID travel restrictions lifted, I think everyone's trying to travel right now, or at least a lot with the clients that I'm seeing.
I'm trying to go places, Justin.
I mean, I'm traveling too. So I think the big thing to consider, and I'm just talking about like travel to the U.S., is that folks who have ESTA, like the visa waiver program, you're not going to have issues. This doesn't really impact you. You still have to get tested prior to coming to the U.S., for COVID. But in terms of like, individuals who need visas to the U.S., who actually need visas, like visitor visas, some of the queues are like insane. If you check the visa wait times for some of these places, like it's like over a year to get a visa to the U.S. So you have a lot of panicked individuals who are not from visa waiver programs.
So, sorry, how does that compare to normal, like let's say pre-COVID?
I mean, you could get a business visitor visa to the U.S. probably within, I don't know, 30, 45 days.
And now it's a year.
It's for some of these embassies, it's super long, over a year. And even to get like an H-1B visa or an L visa for intercompany transfers, it can be a long time as well.
Why is that? Is that backlog? Are they just being more cautious about the quantity that they approve? What's causing the queue there?
So we've been lucky enough we've hired a couple ex-State Department guys over the past year at EIG, and the kind of very valuable insight they've given us is that the embassies have because it's in person, some of them are still operating at like 40% capacity. And again, it goes back to the whole thing we were talking about in terms of being paper-based. And I think it's a capacity issue in terms of folks who are able to come into the embassy, process these. I know a lot of the embassies have prioritized like the green card applications, so they deprioritize like the visitor visas or the other types of visas. And then I think it's just demand. I think it's everyone has been like, stowed away for 2 years, and people want to like come to the U.S. for, conferences, or they're ready to come here on their L visa or their H visa. So I think it's a combination of all that, just like pent up. Everyone is just ready to travel. And I think what we're seeing with a lot of folks is everyone's just like, why can't I get a visa now to the U.S.? And I think we're going to continue to see it for a bit of time until state can kind of figure this out.
Is this going to impact travel, but also like permanent relocations? Is this situation going to create a bottleneck for long-term assignments and permanent relocations to the United States, or is that unaffected?
I do think yes. So what we do for for like a permanent relocation to the U.S. So say somebody wants to come on an L visa, uh, you're still seeing delays in some of the embassies. You can shop around to the embassies and you can find one that maybe has a lesser of a wait time. So that's an option. And you know, I would just say be very cautious right now in terms of your plans for moving people or for inviting folks for conferences or business travel. Like there's going to be some delays. There's some traffic on the highway.
Are we gonna see some issues with like say like okay, so we got the Worldwide ERC conference coming up
Yeah.
in October, and Jana and I have diligently been planning a banging party in Vegas. Are we gonna have an issue getting my friends, my Brazilians and my Europeans and my Asians over here?
It depends upon where they're coming from. I mean, if they're ESTA from the, you know, if they're from visa waiver program countries, they're going to get in. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I want the fun countries, Justin. I need the fun countries here for Vegas.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
Can we do like a Venn diagram of ESTA countries and fun countries and see who we can expect to attend?
Yeah, what's probably the number one fun country in your mind?
Brazil.
Brazil? Yeah, I can't off the top of my head. I should know this, but I can't remember whether Brazil is a.
Well, we're getting Jana in anyway. Jana's no problem. She's been coming back and forth all day, so she's cool. She's in. I hope I didn't get in trouble just now, but theoretically she's good. What about the Europeans? What about my friends from the UK?
Oh, the Brits are fine.
They're a little stuffy, but they come out of their shell after about 5 pints. They'll be fine.
Yeah, the Brits are going to get in. At anyone from pretty much from the EU that's a part of the visa waiver program, you're going to get.
What about my Singaporean friends? What about my buddy Kerwin Guillermo and my friends from Singapore?
How
are we feeling?
I believe that the Singaporeans are visa waiver program. You're testing my knowledge on the visa waiver program, and I didn't.
Well, I mean, we got a big base here. It's a very thin base, but it's a very broad base. Tracy O'Connor, Ben needs a special Ben party visa. LOL. I need a BP visa. So let's get the BP ones going. Tracy, can you make that happen, Justin? Special pricing.
Yeah, I can make it happen. Yeah.
We need some machine learning to write the BP one. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the delays are real, Ben. There was this concert in LA, and this festival, and they announced that one of the headliners couldn't get in because of visa delays. And,
like Coachella style festival?
Yeah, it was the Cruel World Festival. A bunch of 80s bands and Echo and the Bunnymen couldn't get in because of visa delays, and so
look at the Brazilians are already petitioning. Awesome party, Justin. Please let us enter. Please.
We'll do what we can. So
hit that little support icon right now if you want to come party at ERC. Justin, I got to ask you a question. Yeah. I know a bunch of lawyers. They talk about AILA.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what AILA is, and I'd love to hear a comparison because I've never been. How would you compare like an AILA to like a worldwide ERC?
So AILA is more about, it's the American Immigration Lawyers Association. It's more about they have a very good they do a lot with the government affairs because they're based in DC. It's all about like knowledge and learning, and
sounds like a hoot.
That's how you become like a very good immigration attorney, is you get involved with AILA and you share knowledge and whatnot. ERC is, I'd say, it's broader, and it's I don't know, maybe a little more fun.
There you go. Although I did hear Roman was doing a comedy thing at AILA. He's doing like a did you?
Is he? I know he was a stand-up comic.
Yeah, he's doing like a thing at AILA where he's gonna have like a set list, and he's gonna bring the aliens, the AILA folks in, and then they're gonna do some comedy, I think is what I heard. So he's trying to punch it up a little bit. It could be nice. I don't know.
No, I mean there's tons of fun people. Oh, she's fine.
She wants to be clear. Jana's director of operations here at Global. She's in charge of compliance. She's also global mobility manager for many, many years. for multinational companies. She's like, I got my stuff in order, Ben. Don't play me like that. I'm good. I'm set. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you keeping me on track here. No, but that's exciting. So I'll make sure to make sure everybody's got their visa in order. Although it might be too late if they don't currently have it together. Let me ask you. We talked about the Trump administration. We talked a little bit about the current Biden administration right now. What types of legislation do we see on the horizon? What are some of the things that this administration might be working on that could impact immigration?
Nothing. So the thing is, they've worked on a lot of these bills, but they can't. Nothing's going to get voted on. Nothing's going to be brought to the table right now. But that's not. I think immigration is very controversial right now because of the midterms is we could spend an hour talking about this, but I think the answer is that there's been a lot of ideas, but I think to arrive at an immigration an issue that is appealable to both sides, I think there's been some support for eliminating like the visa quotas per country for green cards. And I won't bore you with that explanation, but I just think there's been very few things that both sides can agree on. And I think that the short story of it is that, and some friends on the Hill have told us this, the Democrats are very reluctant to move on business immigration issues and not include things like DACA because they don't want to leave that group behind, and I understand that. So it's just a very difficult time to get anything passed right now. Anything, as you've probably seen in the news.
Well, I mean, that's the good part about our government, and the bad part, right? I mean, checks and balances, right? The executive branch, the legislative branch, and then right when you think you have things going the way you want them to go, the judicial branch weighs in and throws a wrench in the whole thing, So yeah, I get it. And so it looks like I got a couple more questions here. Looks like Vinny over here represent. I told you Brazil, man. I told you it's lit. Party time. Justin has experienced my party. See, what happens in Portland stays in Portland, Vinny. You can't be bringing Portland on the show, man. Because last time I was at your house, I threw an axe over the fence. So you got to be careful.
Whatever Vinny does to cook meat, I don't know what he does. I know it's very simple, but it's like the most amazing steak I've ever tasted.
Vinny made a deal with the devil. For great hugs and good cooking. Let's see here. Roman. What's up, Roman? Roman chiming in here. Absolutely, there will be stand-up comedy show at the AILA conference this year. What's up, Roman? That's what I'm talking about. Thank goodness, Roman. God bless you, man. I appreciate you so much. This is great. Jean is like, exactly. I am compliant. Don't play me like that. This is awesome. The biggest party in mobility. I don't know. I might have to give you a run for your money because I got a reservation for 400 at the Encore Beach Club at the Wynn, Vinny. So we're gonna see about that. I got your golden ticket right here for you. But all right, let me ask you this real quick here, Justin. Title 42. What is it? Why is it in the news?
So this has been in the news a lot recently. It's a law that allows the U.S. to exclude folks based upon like diseases. So the Trump administration used Title 42 during COVID to exclude a lot of the asylum seekers from Mexico into the U.S. And it's been in the news because, with the rise of or the decrease of COVID, the current administration wants to get rid of it, and they want to allow folks to, not allow, but they want to change the policy so we aren't removing folks or excluding them because of the fear of COVID, because it's not really present anymore. So there's been a judge that has ruled that the administration can't get rid of it at this point. So there's still CBP is still preventing folks from coming in at the border, the Mexico-U.S. border, due to COVID. They don't want folks to allegedly spread COVID. And we'll see what happens with this in terms of whether the administration can remove it or whether it stays in place for a bit of time.
So they're keeping people from coming in the country due to COVID. but I'm about to, go to Spain. I'm about to come. I just came back last week from London. I guess I got a COVID test. So I don't understand, Justin. So if you give people a test and they don't have it, can't they come in?
Well, they're not testing people at the border. But that's the argument of the administration is travel's opened up, so we can't use this as a mechanism to exclude people because everyone's coming in through airplanes anyways. It was a valid measure, a year and a half ago when there were much, larger restrictions due to COVID. But now all that's gone. The administration saying that we can't use this measure. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyways, we'll see what happens with it. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Love it. The exciting world of immigration and border politics here live on Love and Relo. Hit that like button. Throw your comments in there. The Brazilians are chirping in the comments. I love it. Fantastic. Whenever we got Roman Jana and Vinny on the show in the comments, it's always going to be a good time. I want to play a little game with you, Justin. Lawyers are notorious for playing games, and we've got a game here on the show that we've started since you've been on last.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been watching, but it's something we do called Overrated, Underrated. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to throw you a topic, and you're going to tell me if it's overrated or underrated, and I'm going to tell you if you're correct.
Okay.
All right, Stacy, you ready to get started? EIG speakers at mobility conferences. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated. So somebody told me recently that they saw an EIG speaker at a conference, and this is a true story. They said that the speaker from EIG made immigration sexy.
Oh.
So maybe we need to trademark that. But I thought that was funny. Because, I think we tend to speak a little bit differently at EIG in terms of how we explain things. We're a little more personable. We're not these old white guys in suits.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a little different in terms of how we approach the business. And so I got a kick out of that. And yeah.
Nice. Yeah. You know what? You make a good case. You make a good case for it. I'll allow it. It's underrated. Okay. All right. I'll allow it. From the young white guy in suits, telling me that it's not about old white guys in suits. You've been doing this 17 years. I don't believe you. I got to check your receipts. No. I'm excited. Are you guys? Do you guys speak at mobility conferences as well, or more the immigration law conferences? Or where do you get the opportunity?
My colleague Alex Zapatero, she does a lot with like BAM, and I know she's there. She does a lot with ERC, so she does a lot of speaking, and she's a great speaker. And then my colleague Hiba, one of the other partners here, both Alex and Hiba are partners. Hiba, she was at FEM a few weeks ago, and she's a great speaker. Both of them are amazing speakers.
Yeah. I heard that FEM conference was awesome at the TWA Hotel in New York.
Yeah. So I encourage. If you see either of them listed on a spot, to check them out. They're very good speakers, and they're great. They're great ambassadors for EIG.
Awesome, very cool. All right, next, Stacy. Other immigration firms at Mobility Conference, overrated or
overrated?
Overrated.
Yeah, surprisingly.
All right, I'm gonna need receipts. I need substantiation for this one.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say.
I got nothing. He's like, I got nothing. Pure opinion, conjecture. Let's see.
No, there's a lot of good speakers, but I've just been our founder and our Jerry Erickson, who founded the firm, who's no longer with us, but he used to always say, when you speak up there, people aren't really going to remember the content. They're going to remember maybe 5 or 10% of the content, but it's all about, making sure that you're likable. And, at first I didn't believe that, but the more I've gone along in my career and I've watched a lot of folks It is just about, you're at a conference, you're watching people for 8 or 9 hours, and it's important to, to make them like you, score some points. They don't have to remember everything you're going to say. And I think that a lot of folks forget that. So
I love that. I think Maya Angelou said that people won't remember what you say. They'll remember the way you made them feel.
yeah.
And I think that's so true. And sometimes we get so caught up in the words and reading our notes and making sure we hit our points and all that stuff and reading our slide, verbatim. And we forget to actually engage with people, and that it's about the people out there in the audience. So if you're out there in the audience, hit that like button. We love you. Throw comments in there. I hope we're making you feel all right. Next, Stacy. Larry Bird, the pride of French Lick, Indiana.
Yeah.
Larry Legend.
So
overrated or underrated? And where are you from originally, Justin?
I'm from Indiana.
Ooh, tread lightly, my friend.
I was, I was born in 78, and my parents have stories of,
Indiana State University.
Well, my mom went to Indiana State, and they have stories of watching the NCAA championship with Bird and Magic. So my thing is, he's overrated.
Bird is overrated?
Well, I think people have said that he's like, maybe one of the top 10 players, or I've gotten these arguments with people about Larry Bird. He's like a god in Indiana, and I don't disagree with kind of, his work ethic and his trash talking and whatnot, but I think he's overrated in terms of
the problem is he's been a top 10 player for 20 years. And in the last 20 years, we've had guys like LeBron, Kobe, people have come and there's only 10 spots in the top 10. And I love Larry Legend. I love the short shorts and the tape crooked finger, and the little flick release, and he's all hustle and grit and duct tape. But oh gosh, it pains me. It pains me as a guy who's all hustle and duct tape on the court. It pains me, but I think you might be right. Larry Bird might be overrated. Oh,
well, you look at his body of work, and I think he started having back issues, 86, 87, and so he just didn't. I mean, he played too hard. He got injured, and he doesn't have the sustained body of work that Kobe does, and a guy like Kobe is maybe a top 5, but anyways,
are we doing this right now, Justin? Are we going to do a top 5 right now? Top 5 was when you were here 2 years ago, man. We done. You know what though? But know what? Who's your top 5? Who's your
See, I haven't prepared for that.
You opened the door. I just walked through it.
Yeah,
your house.
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I don't want to be on. I don't want to make a.
You don't want Larry to call you up, be like, "Listen, first of all, you can't come to Indiana anymore. Second of all, you're dead wrong about your top 5."
Yeah. I don't know. I just know that Larry's not in the top 10. I love him. He's one of my favorite players, but he's not in the top 10. So
fair enough. All right. Let's get off that into something less controversial next. Watch yourself, Justin. Watch it. The Dallas Cowboys, a.k.a. America's team, a.k.a. the team that played at the stadium in Arlington where they cut a hole in the roof so God could watch.
Yeah.
Your Dallas Cowboys.
I didn't, because I guess I didn't realize. Are you a Cowboys fan?
Huge.
Okay. Well, I didn't realize that. I would have stayed.
And that's our show today, people. Thank you so much, Justin Parlins. So how do you feel? Justin?
So the thing about the Cowboys is that I just feel like there is a lot of there's a lot given to them each year, regardless of whether they have the team. And I guess I just don't understand the press fascination with them.
It's America's team. People they're only hugely popular in America. You go outside the US, you don't see the same fascination, but as America's team, they do tend to draw here in the States. I think what it was, and I listen, there's a lot of fascination. They were founded in 1960.
Yeah.
All right. They put stars on their helmets and they had the silver breeches, and they were really cool, and they were real cool. And then they won three championships in the 90s, you know, and they had a lot of swagger and a lot of panache, you know, and the way they did things was progressive and innovative, much like Erickson.
Yeah.
And that's why they've built a legacy that lasts. But now I will say it's been 27 years since they won a Super Bowl. Yeah, we're due. We're due, and every year we look for it, you know, and we're ready, and this is our year.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel you, man. A little maybe slightly overrated, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got another one for you, Justin.
Yep.
Lawyers, overrated or underrated?
Totally overrated.
All right. You know what? I forgive you for everything else you said today.
Yeah. Lawyers are we're generally boring. We're generally, you know, have a very a highly inflated sense of who we are, and we're not funny, we're not nice, except for the folks at EIG. We're cut from a different cloth. So
yes, and whoever's Roman's book for his set at ALA, which could be epic or it could be either way. It's gonna be amazing. Justin, thank you so much for having a sense of humor and playing my game there, overrated, underrated. This has been a lot of fun learning about immigration and what's been going on recently and what's on the horizon for the future and how we can act accordingly. Justin, I want to give you the opportunity just to leave us with a final thought as we wrap up today.
I don't know if I have any. Yeah, just, you know, thanks for having me on. I appreciate the humor and everything, and I hope everyone has a good Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a final word for you. Vegas. Yeah, thanks, Mike Quigley. Appreciate you, aka Tequila. Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks so much to Justin. Thanks for everybody for getting involved in the comments. Hit that like button. Send a little love out there to Northern Virginia. Jana Chesnowski laughing. She knows about my affinity for lawyers. Love y'all out there. Take care. And we will see you next week live from Sevilla, Spain, as we will be broadcasting from the Euro Conference. Check out the new time because we will be on Europe time. So it's going to be different. We're going to be earlier, but we will be coming to you from the conference, showing you what Euro is all about. It'll be my first time. And we will also be broadcasting, hopefully, if the 5G holds up, from the Euro Gala, which I may be overdressed for and sweating. I don't know. We'll see how the aircon is over there in Spain. Anyway, John Habanek, appreciate you over at Chase. Hit that like button. Vinny, Vegas, baby. Can't wait to see you out there. Vinny, got lots of scoop for that. Maybe Erickson will be a sponsor for us. Who knows? It's gonna be amazing. Take care, everybody. We will see you next week.